Welcome to lesson 1.3, angles and measurements. All right, so let's start out with the definition of an angle. An angle consists of two different rays with the same end point. Here is what an angle looks like. Let me cover this up for a second. Okay. So, as I can see, I have two different rays. I have a ray right here, which is ray BA. There's its proper name. And this would be considered a side of my angle. There's the angle right there in the pink that I can see. This would be the other ray, which is BC. And this would be considered the other side of my angle. This common point, the same end point that they share, B, is called the vertex. It's very similar to the vertex that you heard in algebra, like of a quadratic equation. It's the middle point in my graph. And it is my common endpoint. So that endpoint that they share, my two side rays, this is what's going to be my vertex. So notice BA, ray BC, I see them containing that first common endpoint. That would make them an angle when they look like this. Okay, they would be considered opposite rays if they made a straight line to one another, if they were straight. So if this one wasn't slanted upward, if it headed over there towards my white piece of paper. Okay, to name an angle, I use the angle symbol, which looks like the less than symbol that I'm familiar with from algebra. And then if there's only one angle like there appears up above, I can simply name it by its vertex. So I can simply call this angle B. If there are more than one angles in a picture, so let's say there were more than one angle up there, I would have to be a little bit more specific so that we all looked at the same angle B. And so this is where I would use three letters to name the angle. I would use the three that make it up, so 1, 2, 3. And notice the order that I went in. I always like to kind of find the top of the angle, then you must put the vertex in the middle, so it always has to have the vertex in the middle, and then I like to go out to the side at the bottom. But you could go bottom, middle, top. It doesn't matter, okay? The only rule is that if you name it using the three letters that make up the angle, this one right here in the middle every time must be your vertex. If I put C in the middle, that is not this angle that's up above. Okay, that would be a different angle and I'd have to draw a new angle. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and practice naming angles. So here is my first example for you, and we're going to practice naming angles. Now, notice it says angles. I see two angles, and I'm going to grab my highlighter to show you this, because geometry is very visual, and if you can see it better, if you can't see it, the color is going to help you. The color is going to help you tremendously. So there's my first angle that I see, and I'm just going to leave a little yellow mark down here so that we remember to come back and name that yellow angle. And then I see this pink one right here, or I see this second one right here, which I'm going to make pink. So I'm going to make myself a pink mark down here so that we come back and we name it. Now, these angles might be the same degree, but we don't know that for certain. So what I did was I put two arc marks to show that maybe this angle is like 25 degrees, but this angle's 20. I don't know that. I'm just making a guess. Okay? There's one more angle. There's one more angle. Together, the yellow and the pink make this angle right here that I'm going to do in blue. Can you see it? There are 3 of them. There's the yellow one, there's the pink one, which were very easy to see, but together they make this one, which obviously is bigger than both of them. It looks bigger. Look at how big my blue marks are. All right, so let's go back and let's look at that yellow one, excuse me, and let's go ahead and name it. Remember, when I'm naming, I want to use the angle symbol. It looks like less than, but it is the angle symbol. Can I call this one angle P? Because this is my vertex, right? This is my vertex. If I were to look at it, the side would be ray PQ. The other side would be ray PR. But notice the yellow and the pink are shared for this angle too. So PR is also a side ray of this angle over here, which is also angle P because it has the vertex P. And this ray PQ is also a side to my blue angle, which also has a ray of P. So can I simply call them angle P, angle P, angle P? No, because then we don't know which angle P to look at. You guys might look at the blue and I might look at the pink because that's my favorite color. Or maybe just to throw you off, I'm going to be talking about the yellow one. So we need to be more specific in this case. If I want to talk about the yellow angle P, I need to call it angle QPR. Its other name would be angle RPQ. Okay, those would be the 2 names that you'd want to use for that yellow highlighted angle. The pink one, I could name it angle RPS. Or backwards, I could name it angle SPR. I don't want to call either one of these simply angle P because let me make it darker for you. They both contain the variable P. So then I don't know which one I'm talking about. Okay, last one, I would call the blue one angle QPS or SPQ, okay? 3 letters is probably the best because then everybody's on the same page and we all know what we're looking at and we're all looking at the same thing. And then I would, you always need the vertex in the middle. All right, let's talk about how to classify angles, classifications of angles. So let me just grab my highlighter here. We're going to talk about ways to classify. And you have seen these classifications before. You've heard them before in lower level maths, probably in middle school. It's been a while, I know. But when an angle is less than 90 degrees, we call it acute. Let me zoom in on that a bit. There we go. And there's an example of what it would look like. Less than 90, we classify it as acute. When my angle has a degree equal to 90, we call it right. And it looks like this. It must contain the 90-degree box in the corner for it to technically be 90. Otherwise, I need to tell you angle QPS is 90 degrees, okay? If an angle has a degree measure of greater than 90 or less than 180 degrees, we call it obtuse, and there's an example for you. And the last one is when my angle degree has a measure equal to 180 degrees, we call it straight, and it looks just like a line like we would have graphed in algebra, okay? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do some naming, some classifying, and telling how much these angles, what their measure is. Before we go into this, one thing that's always kind of hard is I don't know what to put for name, and I don't know what to put for classification. So let me think about myself. When I'm asked to be named, my name is Mrs. Palmer. But when I'm classified, I could be classified as a human. I could be classified as a woman. I'd even answer to, hey girl, okay? If you were to walk into a classroom, let's just pretend we're all at El Paso High, and someone just shouted, "Hey girl," all the girls in the room would turn and look at the door. All of us. Okay, likewise, if they came in and yelled, "Hey boy," you'd all look. All you boys would look. Some of us girls would look too because we'd be like, who's yelling at the door, right? But when they come to the door and they yell, "Hey, Mrs. Palmer," I should be the only one that looks because that's my name. So when I'm being named, I use the letters that make up the angle. So this first one right here, I could call it angle YFI. I could call it angle IFY. I could have simply called it angle F because there was only one. I could not call it angle FYI, even though I really want to, because I know what FYI stands for, right? Okay, but if I'm going to classify this, I'm going to use the fact that it is 35 degrees to say that it is acute. Okay, my classification is which one of those 5 up or 4 up above, acute, right, obtuse, or straight, that it is. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. If I'm going to name this angle, I could name it angle LTC, or I could name it angle CTL, or simply angle T because it's that's the only angle there. I cannot call it angle TLC, even though I really want to. Its measure is 125 degrees. Yes, I'm going to use the degree symbol to denote that it has a unit for our measure, but I'm not going to force you guys to put that on any assignment. So if I ever ask how many degrees an angle is, you don't have to worry about finding the degree button in Schoology, okay? And its classification, because it's greater than 90 but less than 180, this is obtuse. Okay, this one right here. I would call this angle RTS or angle STR, or simply angle T. I see the 90-degree box in the corner, so this is 90 degrees, and this classification is right. Last one. X would be my vertex, so I'm going to call this NXS or SXN. I could have just called it angle X, and I could have called this one angle T. Because it is straight, it's always 180 degrees because it's straight, and that's its classification, straight. Okay. All right. The last thing I need to talk to you about today is the angle addition postulate. The angle addition postulate. Here it is. And let's go ahead and we'll read through it. Now remember, a postulate in geometry is just a fancy way of saying we have a rule. We're going to learn a new rule about how to add angles. That's how we name things. Angle addition postulate, a rule about how to add angles. Very similar to the segment addition postulate, which was our rule about how to add segment pieces. This simply says if P is in the interior, the inside of angle RST, then the measure of angle RSP plus the measure of angle PST. Notice how I highlighted them. So you don't necessarily have to memorize this, right? What you have to memorize is this piece plus this piece. I'm going to break this down to you where my 7-year-old in the 2nd grade could do your geometry homework for you. Equals the measure of angle RST. RST. That's what the color does for you. If we go And I mean, you don't have to use the yellow, pink, and blue. You can use whatever colors you want, but whatever color you substitute with yellow, just remember that that color matches my yellow. So it's this plus this equals this. So for me, I'm always thinking the yellow plus the pink equals the blue. And I'm always, when I see a problem, which I'm going to do 2 of them before we finish, I'm always thinking the 2 inside parts are yellow and pink, and then the whole thing together I highlight with my blue highlighter. That's what I'm always thinking when I do these problems. Okay? So the yellow plus the pink equals the blue. The measure of this angle plus the measure of that angle equals this, the measure of this angle here. Okay? All right, here we go. We're going to practice 2 of them. Here's our first one. Find the measure of angle RQS if the measure of PQS is 77 degrees and the measure of angle PQR is 32. All right, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my angle addition postulate from above in my notebook and I'm going to highlight because it's going to make it so much easier for me. So I'm going to highlight and I'm going to leave myself a space. Over here, I'm going to highlight. I'm going to leave myself a space, a pink space. Okay, and I'm going to come in with my blue last. I'm going to highlight the whole big angle, and I'm going to leave a space at the end. Now I'm going to come back with my pencil. I'm going to put a plus sign here, and I'm going to put an equal sign here, because that's what the formula says. The yellow plus the pink equals the blue. The yellow plus the pink equals the blue. And now I'm going to start reading. RQS. So let's find those letters. RQS. That's the pink one. So I'm going to grab my pink, and maybe I'll just do this so I can see the pink. So they're asking me what that is. They want me to find it. So they're not going to give it to me. It's going to be X. They want me to find it. I want you to find it. X, okay? P, Q, S. Let's find the letters. P, Q, S. That's the blue one. P, Q, S is the blue one. It's 77 degrees. So I'm going to put the 77 right here. I can drop the degree symbol because I'm moving into a formula. If I wanted to put that on the picture, I could put X right here, and then I would go like this, and I could put the 77 degrees down there if I wanted to put it on the picture. Okay, that must mean that this last one, PQR, and I'm just going to check, PQR, yep, it's this last one that's 32. Oops, I grabbed the wrong highlighter. There we go, is my yellow one. So now I have my equation set up. 32 plus what equals 77. Well, if I were to solve this, all I have to do is subtract the 32, X equals 45. And I'm going to go ahead and put degrees because X was the one of the measure, was the measure that they asked me to find. How simple was that? The color is what's going to make the geometry come alive for you and make it more understandable. Okay, last one, let's add some algebra. So find if the measure of angle AOC is 70 degrees, the measure of angle AOB is X plus 10 degrees. Notice it's in parentheses to show you that it's not just 10 degrees, it's X plus, whatever X is, plus another 10. And the measure of BOC is X degrees. Find the measure of AOB. Okay, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to highlight and I'm going to set up my formula. So the top part gets yellow. That is AOB. Look at this. I could leave the parentheses when I put it into the equation, but I don't have to. Since I already have my pencil out, I know the next part of my equation is going to be plus, and I know that when I come to highlight, this part's going to be pink, and that is BOC, BOC, there it is. I'm going to put an x degrees right here. I'm going to put an x right here, and I'm going to put an equal sign after it. Notice when I put it in the equation, I dropped the symbol. I dropped the degree symbol because I don't need to mess around with it. I don't need to think of it as an exponent, okay? Because it's not. It's a degree symbol. It's like an inches or a foot. That's what it is, okay? The last one is AOC. AOC, there it is. And I'm going to say that that's 70 degrees. So I can go ahead and go like this, 70 degrees. 7D goes into my problem. So now I have them both set up, and I'm just going to go ahead and solve it. I have the parentheses here lightly because I'm not actually distributing. They're just there to say that this is all the yellow angle AOB. So I'm going to combine together my x plus my x to get 2x plus 10 equals 70. I'm going to subtract my 10 to both sides, giving me 2x equals 60. I'm going to divide by 2, x equals 30. Okay, so remember, most of the times I'll ask you simply to solve for x, but the only other thing I could ask you to do is to go back and plug it in. And I did ask you right here, we highlighted at the end, find the measure of AOB. So I actually have to go back and plug it in right here. So I need to think the measure of angle AOB is going to be 30 plus 10, 40 degrees. This would be my final answer for our last example. Okay, all I did was I simply found angle AOB, the yellow one, and I plugged it in because it was 10 plus, or x plus 10. So I substituted and then I solved. See you guys next time.